Hello everyone, welcome to a video about one of my favorite jazz guitar players that is still playing and teaching around the world, Peter Bernstein. Let's go! Maybe you've watched some other videos about Peter Bernstein on my channel, and I made a few of those videos. I will link them, or at least the ones I can find under this video in the description. But I never made one with a complete solo, and I did that for many other guitar players, and I thought I should do one about Peter Bernstein. So I found this solo he played on the standard East of the Sun, and he was playing at that time in the trio of Diana Krall. And it's a beautiful, melodic, technically easy, but super tasteful solo. And it's a solo I really liked the first time I heard it, and I still like it even after transcribing and practicing it for a couple of hours. And I think it's really worth diving into. So let's get started with phrase number 1. I transposed the solo to the key of G because the original is in E flat. You can watch the original by clicking on the link in the description. But the only reason they played in E flat, I guess, is because that's the vocal key for Diana Krall. Mostly the standard is played in G, and every time I played it is in G 100% of the times. So I thought it might be nice to actually learn this solo or talk about the solo in the key of G. So this first phrase is basically a melodic phrase based around a B minor triad. Now the chord is G major 7 or G6, whatever you want. It's all B minor. There's one note that's not in the B minor triad, and that's the E. Happens twice, but that's just a melodic passing note, because if I would only be using those B minor triad notes, it sounds too much like just playing a triad, right? So now it sounds like a melody. And the smart thing about it is that it fits both on G major and on the B minor chord that happens in bar 3. Now the B minor chord can be viewed in several ways. One way is to view it as the 2 in a 2-5 to A, or in this case A minor, because the chords go G major 7 for 2 bars. And then it's B minor, E7 to A minor. So if you view it as a 2 in a 2-5 chord, you might be playing some kind of 2-5-1 lick, something like 3-4. Right? You're playing just a 2-5-1 lick, ending in A minor. That's one way, but I think a better way, or a smarter way, or one that fits more with the song, is to view that B minor just as a variation of the 1 chord. Because if you have a minor chord on the 3rd or 6th degree, so in the key of G, that would be B minor or E minor. It's basically just the 1 chord with a different bass note. So this B minor, just view it as G with the B in the bass. Something like that. So what kind of phrases do you play on it? Well, the same kind of phrases you would play on the 1 chord. So now the chords of the tune become 3 bars of G, right? In the head of the solo player, not the rhythm player. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Stay on G for the 3rd bar, even though the rhythm section might switch to B minor. And then you just play your G major phrases. Peter Bernstein is choosing to play B minor all the way through, even on the G chord. Of course, that fits perfectly, because in a G major arpeggio, there is this B minor triad already. So that's a very smart way to navigating those first two chords. So again, the possibilities are you play G major 7 for 2 bars, and then you switch to some kind of 2-5-1 lick. I don't think it's the best choice, but it's certainly possible. Or you stay on G major 7 or G major for 3 bars, or you choose to play B minor for 3 bars. If you do that, be careful with the C sharp. Try to avoid the C sharp. Just stay in that kind of shape instead of doing something like, because that sounds a little bit too much like the song would be in B minor. It's still in G, of course. Let's go to phrase number 2. The first thing to notice is that Peter Bernstein is not playing a 5-1 phrase. He's not playing E7 to A minor. That's why I started this phrase immediately on the A minor, because there is no 5-1 resolution. Most people would do that. They would play 3 bars of G, right, or 2 bars of G, and then it's a 2-5 to A minor. So they would play some phrase on E7 that resolves to A minor, maybe something like, right, or maybe another cliche like, or all E7 to A minor. There's nothing wrong with that. Most people would do that. I would do that. But I really like this idea of treating the A minor as its own thing and not making this resolution, but instead invoking a blues feeling on that A minor. And also a blues feeling on the C minor that comes right after it. Well, how do you make a minor chord bluesy? Well, there's 2 ways. So the first way is to really play a bluesy phrase, something like... So basically playing the flat 5 of A minor, which is an E flat, and I'm playing with the relationship between the 4 and the flat 5. Maybe a slide or a hammer-on, pull-off. Maybe play some minor 7. Maybe play some A minor pentatonic. Sounds nice, but that is not the bluesy feeling that Peter Bernstein is invoking. Peter Bernstein is choosing to use a different principle. It's something that maybe started with George Benson. I'm not completely sure, but it sounds like something that he would do. Let's say you have a minor chord, A minor. You think about a major 7 arpeggio from the 3rd. So in this case, that would be a C. So C major 7. And now you slide to the major 7 or 9 of this major 7 arpeggio, something like this. Or you could slide to the 9. Or, and that's maybe the most bluesy one, you slide to both at the same time. So both sliding to the major 7 and the 9. You could do it here. Or here. Very George Benson-like, right? Now that is what Peter Bernstein is doing. So first he slides to the 3, which is the most obvious way to play a bluesy phrase on C, right? You do. So it starts with a slide to the 3rd, but now sliding to that 7, the major 7, and it really creates surprisingly a bluesy feel, even though it's not a bluesy note, the major 7. But if you slide to it, really it does the trick. Now the same thing happens on the C minor chord. So he thinks about E flat major 7, and you can either slide to the D or the F, or both at the same time. Peter Bernstein sliding to that major 7. Of course, there's also a C in it, so you might say, well, it's not really E flat major 7, but even if I would be thinking E flat major 7, a C would not be a weird thing to play. Right, there's the C right there. So I still view it as a major 7 arpeggio. Also because it's easy to think that way, right? You play C major 7 on A minor, and you slide to the major 7, and then you C minor, you think E flat major 7, and you do the same thing. So that's the first thing that Peter Bernstein is doing. It's very interesting, and it's a very nice, neat trick to remember yourself. You want to play some blues on a minor chord without sounding like a blues guitar player. You play a major 7 from the 3rd, and you slide to either the major 7 or the 9, or both at the same time. Another thing that he does, which makes it very sophisticated, is that he's connecting the A minor to the C minor, which is not an obvious connection. It would be much more obvious to connect the E7 to the A minor and then play something and then start a new phrase on the C minor chord. That's what most people would do. But of course, Peter Bernstein is much more sophisticated than everybody, and he connects the A minor to the C minor by playing, which is still part of the A minor sound, but it goes directly into the C minor phrase. So there's a C major triad right in front of the C minor chord, going to the bluesy phrase. That's a very interesting thing to do and also to notice in his playing. It's something that I'm probably not capable of doing in the moment, to make these kinds of connections, but it's a good thing to study. Let's go to the next phrase. And again, he's connecting two chords that you wouldn't expect somebody to connect during an improv. He's connecting that C minor back to an A minor by playing on C minor and that on A minor. Really great if you can do that, and I would certainly try to do it, but it's not as easy as you think. But I want to notice something about the chords here. So the chords are A minor, and then the second bar there's a couple of options. Some people like to play D7, and then a quick 2-5 to E minor. Now on the Diana Krall recording, I think they play A minor, and then they play 2-5, 2-5 to E minor. Now if you do that, 2-5, like that, it's basically the same as just playing 2 for one bar, 5 for one bar to E minor. So if you think of it like that, you can just play a 2-5 one lick starting on bar 10, right? You just play, you treat it as one bar F sharp half diminished, one bar B7. So you just play any 2-5 one lick you know. That's a Stochelo lick. Or you could play 1, 2, 3. Let's say Pasquale Grasso lick. Or what about this Django lick? 1, 2, 3, 4. Just your 2-5-1 licks on minor that you know. Or you could do what Peter Bernstein is doing and make the not obvious connection and leaving the first bar open and start a phrase in the second bar and connecting B7, E minor, and A7 that comes right after it. That is a much harder thing to do, but one trick you could think of is treating that A7 also as E minor. So then you get one bar of B7 to E minor for 2 bars. That sounds easy, but it's much more difficult than you think because of our tendency to think in phrases of 4 bars. Because what Peter Bernstein is doing, he's connecting that last 2 bars of a block of 4 bars to the first 2 bars of a new block of 4 bars. And that just feels unnatural if you're not used to it. But it's something you could work on. And this solo is an excellent example because it happens a couple of times already up until now. Let's go to the next phrase. And you have a beautiful, typical Peter Bernstein 2-5-1 phrase. A little bit bluesy on the A minor there. And now we get an A flat major triad. Of course, A flat major is the tritone for D7, right? If you have D7 here, and then just put A flat in the bass, keep the other 2 notes, you have A flat 7. So you could always play that tritone arpeggio on top of that dominant chord and resolving to G, but not just to a D, but to a C sharp that resolves to a D. That's much more interesting. Beautiful phrase that you really should add to your drawer with a 2-5-1 licks or your bag of 2-5-1 licks. And that was it for this video. Of course, there's a second half to this course with a bunch of other beautiful licks, bluesy, sophisticated, you name it, it's all in there. And I will make a video about that later this week for my patrons over at patreon.com. And if you check that site out, you can see there's several tiers you could join. If you join there at the lowest tier, the €5 tier, you can download the tabs that you saw on screen today, but also tabs for a bunch of other videos. But if you join at the €10 tier, you get access to this exclusive video and also some other exclusive videos that I made in the past. And there's also the highest tier, the €35 tier, and you get access to everything I've ever made, which is hundreds of videos and hundreds of pages of tab, maybe thousands even. I don't know how many, but many pages of tab. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, all that good stuff that helps my channel grow. And I will end this video with a short commercial I made last year for my book, The Van Hemert System, which is a book which takes you from beginner jazz guitar player to an advanced jazz guitar player in no time. Well, not no time. You still have to put in the practice hours, but the book is very concise and only gives you practical information. So here's the commercial, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye. Hello everyone, you just listened to a jazz guitar solo on the chords of the tune Ergin. If you are a guitar player and you always wanted to play jazz but had no idea where to start, I have a solution for you. I just released a book called The Van Hemert System, which describes the system I used myself to learn how to improvise, like you just heard. The methodology is completely based on learning a couple of shapes across the guitar neck that will enable you to improvise on every jazz standard you can think of. Of course, it's gonna take a while to become proficient at playing those shapes and how to apply them, but you don't have to learn anything else. No music theory, no scales, no arpeggios, no fretboard identification, no ear training, just learning those shapes and how to apply them. That's what I did myself, and you just saw the result. If you are interested in learning to play jazz guitar like that, and you are in the US, order my book in the web store of jungleguitars.com. And if you are in Europe, send a mail to this email address. Bye!